Okay, so there's been a ton of buzz around Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary. It's this incredible blend of hardcore science and, surprisingly, a whole lot of heart. So what's the big deal? Why is everyone calling it a modern classic? Well, it all kicks off with one simple, absolutely terrifying question.
Seriously, just think about that for a second. That is the central mystery that just grabs you from page one and does not let go. You're right there with the hero, trying to piece everything together, not just who he is, but the whole purpose of this mission that, just happens to hold the survival of all humanity in the balance. No pressure, right?
So, what is this mission? Let me tell you, the stakes could not possibly be any higher. We are talking about a full-on, global catastrophe that's threatening to wipe out every single living thing on Earth.
And the villain here, it's not some giant monster or an invading alien army. Nope. It's this tiny, microscopic life form called astrophage. And it is literally eating our sun. Just gobbling up its energy, making it dimmer and colder. So yeah, Earth is freezing over, and humanity, we're on the clock.
And that's where the Hail Mary project comes in. The name really says it all. It is the definition of a last-ditch effort, a total long shot. It's a desperate, one-way mission to another star system where it looks like something, somehow, has already stopped the astrophage. The whole thing is just a hope that we can find an answer out there. Okay, so you've got one shot to save the world. Who do you send? You're probably thinking a top-tier astronaut, right? A decorated military commander? Well, Andy Weir's choice is, not that. Look, if you've read The Martian, you might be expecting another Mark Watney. But Ryland Grace is a whole different animal. He's not some confident, mission-ready astronaut. He's a former scientist who became a middle school teacher. And he was basically dragged into this whole thing against his will. It's that sarcasm and that vulnerability that make him so incredibly relatable. He's the hero who absolutely did not want the job.
But here's the thing. This science is cool, the survival stuff is super thrilling, but that's not what makes this book truly special. This is where the story goes from being just a great survival tale to something way, way more profound.
So picture it. Grace is out there, deep in space, millions of miles from everything. He thinks he's on a one-man mission, and then he finds out he's not alone.
He meets Rocky, an alien engineer whose world is also being destroyed by astrophage. He's this kind of spider-like being who communicates using musical tones, and he is just as desperate to save his people. So right away, you know this isn't going to be a story of conflict. It's a story of cooperation.
And their partnership? This incredible, unlikely bond between two completely different beings, united by the same common threat, becomes the powerful, emotional engine that drives this entire story. It's the beating heart of the novel. So how does Weir pull all of this off? Well, it all comes down to his unique talent for making really complex science feel not just understandable, but genuinely exciting. It's his signature formula. Weir's formula is simple, but it's so effective. He explains stuff like relativity and astrophysics like you're just chatting about it, not sitting through a lecture. He balances these insane life-or-death situations with genuine humor. And the dual timeline, shifting between Grace's present problem and his returning memories, creates this brilliant mystery. But above all, his stories are just rooted in this powerful optimism, this core belief that with ingenuity and cooperation, we can solve any problem. Okay, so with all that said, what's the final mission report on Project Hail Mary? Look, every story has its strengths and weaknesses, and this one is no different. The book's strengths are, well, undeniable. It masterfully combines that hard science with real, genuine heart. Rocky is an absolute standout, seriously one of the best aliens in modern sci-fi. And that whole memory loss mystery just keeps you glued to the page, all while the fate of humanity is hanging in the balance. But it might not be for everyone. If you're not a fan of detailed scientific explanations, you might find some sections a bit dense. And yeah, you could argue that at times, Grace feels like he shares a little too much of that snarky, problem-solving DNA with Mark Watney. But honestly, those are pretty minor critiques for what is an otherwise fantastic read. Our final rating is a solid 4.5 out of 5. It's a thrilling, hopeful, and surprisingly heartwarming adventure. So if you enjoyed Weir's own The Martian, or if you love that sense of scientific discovery in Carl Sagan's Contact, or maybe you appreciate the huge high-concept stakes of the three-body problem, then yeah, Project Hail Mary needs to be at the very top of your list. And that brings us to the final question the book really leaves you with. It starts as a story about human survival,
But at its heart, it ends up asking something so much bigger. In the face of universal catastrophe, what are we willing to risk for a connection, for a friend, for a species that is not our own?